40 years ago, the late Art Okun, a Brookings economist and an economic advisor in the Kennedy and Johnson White Houses, wrote a little book about a very big issue. Inequality and efficiency, the Big Tradeoff. He argued that redistributing income from the rich to the poor takes its toll on economic growth. The conflict between equality and economic efficiency is inescapable. In that sense, capitalism and democracy are really a most improbable mixture. Maybe that is why they need each other, to put some rationality into equality and some humanity into efficiency. Now, the gap between winners and losers in the U.S. economy has widened enormously over the last 40 years, but the issue about which Okun wrote is very much alive today. So the Brookings Institution is republishing Okun's classic and picking up the conversation where Okun left off.
It says, have we gone too far in allowing too much inequity such that now we're actually costing ourselves and our nation's productivity? And I think the answer to that is yes.
The political economy is so different from the moment in which Okun was writing about in 1975. And I think that it is that kind of thinking, dare I say, that allowed us to miss the real importance of this rising inequality that we've seen in recent decades. This whole new body of research that is showing that rising inequality is bad for economic growth.
And then there is the political clout of the rich. Okun wrote, if the uses of fact checkbooks in the political process can be tightly regulated, the plutocracy will lose much of its political punch. He wondered, how then does capitalism survive in a democracy? What makes the not-so-affluent majority so charitable toward the rich minority?
I'm skeptical that there's this direct link from money to politics. And to the extent there is, we should think of the political system. I think that most things rich people spend money are not politics. But I do think there are policies, and I think Okun believed too, there are policies that shift the whole trade-off out. When Okun mentions schooling, to the extent we can increase schooling for underprivileged people, for sure that's going to mean more efficiency and more equality.
If you turned the question around and said, is the implication of Okun that the pie needs to be smaller in order for each of us to have more equal slices, I think the answer is certainly not. And there's a huge list of policies, I think, that help us on both inequality and growth, the most important of which I think is discrimination.
Instead of blending the values of capitalism and democracy, many are pitting them against each other. Instead of compromising, we are polarizing. The nation sorely needs a serious dialogue and a major educational undertaking to develop the enlightened attitudes of compromise. I can't think of a better way to end this than to read that old passage. And join me in thanking our panelists for helping us develop the enlightened attitudes of compromise.